Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Luke from Guild Umber. This is going to be my DPS Warrior Build 2 of 2 video, and we're going to talk about a debuff build for the Warrior. Now, as the Warrior, you're going to want to be in Juggernaut stance, which is one of the two stances a Warrior has. When you activate this stance, it completely brings any abilities that you have on cooldown back up for you to use. It also increases your assault power. So, but what Juggernaut the stance does is it increases your assault power, and as a result, also decreases the mitigation, the amount of armor you have. Makes you a little more squishy. So anyway, dive right into the build. First ability didn't change from the last build. It's Relentless Strike. I took the tier 8, which 20% chance to reset the cooldown of Power Strike, our next ability. Whirlwind and Tremor, which we don't use in this build. And the tier 4, 20% chance to grant efficiency for 5 seconds. Basically reduces the amount of over time you have kinetic energy that you build up with this ability. Well, by taking the tier 4, it reduces the chance, or the decay really, of the kinetic energy. Okay, so that's the reason we take it. But anyway, it's your basic attack. Does physical damage to 5 foes and builds 180 kinetic energy each time you use it. Power Strike. Power Strike is your main DPS ability as the DPS Warrior. It's a melee ability. Does physical damage to 5 foes. You can use it up to 4 times before you induce a cooldown, and you have to wait for it to come back up. So by also taking the tier 8 Relentless Strikes, it reduces or it gives you a chance to reset the cooldown of this ability. So, you know, I take it. Okay. Now, my next ability that I didn't have on my previous build was Smackdown. Okay, lay the Smackdown. Okay, and it really does have a funny sound and a funny animation. It's like you backhand the dudes or something, you know, and that's like just awesome. I don't get it, you know. Anyway, moving on. It does physical damage and debuffs your opponent's resistances by 10% for 10 seconds. So in a raid or in a group environment, if you're running this, keep it up. If you can keep it up 100%, there is no other debuff that does that much percent debuff. Okay, I took the tier 4 because it has a 20% chance of resetting our next ability, which is Breaching Strikes. And the tier 8 I took because it applies a blunder, causes foes' attacks to have a 15% increased chance to be deflected. Okay, now this is a debuff as well that you put on, so it allows whatever type of tank that you have in your group an increased chance that the foe's attacks will be deflected on top of their deflect chance. So that's pretty sweet, man. You know, obviously you take a hit to your damage a little bit, but it helps your whole group. So anyway, moving on. Next build we had in our last build, it was Breaching Strikes. It's a critical hit procced ability. You have to critical hit in order to open it up or have it available to use. But again, you just like I said in my last build, you want to, anytime this ability is available to you to use it. It deals physical damage 2 times to 5 foes and builds 125 kinetic energy. It also pierces a certain amount of armor. So pretty sweet. Moving on, I didn't tier that ability up, by the way. I took Kick, your most reliable CC, as the Warrior to get those moves. Destroys 1 interrupt armor. Grapple. is also another CC that I took in my last build, so I won't dwell on it too much. Basically, it pulls 2 foes, applies a root, destroys 1 interrupt armor. Another CC, okay, to get those moves out. I took Power Link again because I can't find myself not going away from this, okay. I think it offers way too much, and a lot of warriors take for granted how much it does offer. Again, it grants yourself and 4 other members Empower. Empower is it increases damage dealt by 22.9% for 10 seconds. Pretty sweet. I took the tier 4, which, you know, in a raid environment, you have 10 people in your party, or excuse me, 20 people in your party. So, okay, the 5 people that you did Power Link, yeah, they get that nice increase to damage dealt. But because of this tier 4, everyone who's in that area also receives 2.5% increase to the damage they deal. So, and that's to any party members within 10 meters of you. It's a pretty nice ability. Brings a lot to the to the table. Lastly, I took Unstoppable Force. I didn't have it in my last build, but this is a good time to talk about it now. It's our only CC break. So any bosses in PvE, PvP, any type of CC put on you, if you use this, it breaks you out. Okay, and as you'll see later, we picked an amp that also increases your health as a result of using a CC break. Okay. Obviously, you know, if the fight that you're going into doesn't need a CC break, you could go with Defense Grid. Would be my next one that I would take. A lot of these other abilities, like Plasma Blast, is a tanking ability. It's a taunt. That's why I didn't take it, because we're not interested in taunting. We're interested in doing damage. That's more on the tank side. Flashbang, okay, it does a blind, okay? This is more of a PvP ability. But it also reduces strike through chance by 25% of the enemies that you hit. So maybe, since strike through chance, okay, and deflect chance are polar opposites of one another in the strat tree, I could see where this would be possible to be used. It's just not a thing I would want to use in my builds, because it also destroys 1 interrupt armor. So, you know, it's another form of CC. Anyway, moving on. Sentinel is not a bad one. Oh, excuse me. Emergency Reserves is the next one. Restores shield and grants 1 interrupt armor for 6 sections. Additionally, while Emergency Reserves is active, your shield absorbs 100% damage. So it's pretty nice ability, but again, I would lean toward this being a tanking ability than a DPS Warrior ability. So anyway, moving on. Sentinel, okay, what this does is it grants a guard to your lowest health party member in your group or raid, and it reduces your armor by 10%, okay. But what guard is, it increases the armor of the lowest health party member by 20% and deals a certain amount of physical damage to the foes attacking that lowest health party member. It's not a reliable skill. I don't like skills that don't allow you to be able to target, and it's sort of random. So I chose not to pick it. Maybe some people could find some uses for it, but I still find it as a situational ability more than a have to have, or there's certainly other abilities that I would take over that, okay, like Defense Grid, you know, is a good example. It creates a field, reduces the damage taken by 21% to party members inside that field, that you know, the big AoE circle that it gives you. So, you know, I would take that over Sentinel any day of the week, just my opinion. Tetherbolt, okay, what Tetherbolt does, what is it? This is more of a PvP ability in my opinion. It deals damage, technology damage, and tethers one foe. The tether prevents moving more than 20 meters from the tethered unit for 7 seconds. So it's kind of similar to the Stalker ability, where he does a tether mine. And again, that's not really all that useful in PvE environments. So that's why I didn't take it. Leap I talked about in my last video, so I won't go into it. Basically, it's a movement ability. Savage Strikes. Now, some of you may be asking, well, Savage Strikes is a good ability, why don't you use it? Well, look how much damage it does compared to some of these other ones. Okay? And you'll quickly see why I didn't take it. Okay? It doesn't do anything. Now, it does more damage for knockdowns, but in a PvE environment, how many times are you going to see knocked down bosses? I have yet to see one. So I don't take it. That's just my personal opinion. That's my playstyle. If you can use it, by all means do so and make use of it. Now, regular group mods in dungeons, adventures, raids, trash, I could see it being useful because you do have the chance to knock down those people, those mobs rather. So I can find a use for it there. Ripsaw. Ripsaw does technology damage to 5 foes every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. Applies a snare. I think this is more of a PvP, but it can be used in leveling. If you want to kind of kite mobs while you're low health, you throw this on them and you jump away and watch them die. Pretty cool. But in PvE environments, there are several other, again, my same reasoning for why I didn't take Savage Strikes, because the damage is actually less to start with, but even though you have 5 ticks of that damage. So it's not one I would take, but I've seen a lot of people take it though, so I can't argue against their reasoning in this case, okay, because I don't have any reason for against it other than there's other abilities in my opinion that are stronger, and that's what I have on my bar. Whirlwind. Whirlwind is again another ability that I think has better use in PvP scenarios, although I could see in AoE scenarios and like PvE trash mobs, but again, you need to have at least three or more enemies to actually make good use of this ability. Basically, you spin in a whirlwind, and it looks cool, but it doesn't do as much damage. So I don't take it. The next one is Augmented Blade. Again, this is a PvP ability in my opinion because it allows you the ability to produce a wound on the target. It does damage of your next sword attack. So it does take a global cooldown, keep that in mind. And it provides a wound which reduces incoming healing by 40% for 14 seconds. Now the Stalker's Phlebotomize that I talked in the other video has a much higher incoming healing reduce. So I don't see this often took at all in PvE environments because, okay, if you want to debuff a boss's healing, what better way to do it than to use your CC as a group and knock them down, If you're not doing that and you're more worried about reducing their incoming healing, then chances are your focus or your priorities are in the wrong place. Again, that's my opinion. But it's one of those things that I think this ability is more warranted or used rather in PvP. Okay, I can find a use for it in PvP. I can't find a use for it in PvE. And the two reasons I stated were, in summary, I'll say it again, is that, okay, one, you have to use a global cooldown to activate this ability. Then you have to attack, whether it be Relentless Strikes or Power Strike or whatever your other attacking abilities that you have that use your sword to apply this wound. Okay? And the second reason why I wouldn't take it is because you should be using CC in PvE environments, not you know, trying to reduce the healing. I could only see one situation where this would be usable, and that would be, you know, for those of you who have played through the game a bit and gotten to Skullcano, the first boss, he has the chance to heal himself. But again, you know, you have other things that you can do to him, because he runs around and he eats food, and you got to stop him from eating the food or eat it yourself. So anyway, moving on, so I don't want to stay on this ability forever. I just didn't take it in this build, and I don't see a use for it in PvE. Trimmer. Again, it's an ability that looks awesome. It does. It looks freaking pretty cool. It's like you shatter the earth in front of you, and knock the opponents up, you know. And it does damage around the opponents too. I just chose not to take it because we're focusing on PvE builds in this in these videos. I could see it have plenty of uses in PvP, and I won't go on another rant about that. I'll just shut up. So anyway, I've already talked about my tiers and my abilities. So let's focus on the amps. I did do a little bit of change up since this is a debuff build. I took pretty much the same amps in all of the tier 1s. Before I go there, amps, you get 1 amp per level from level 6 to level 50. So you get a total of 45 amps. The remaining 10 to fill out this build amp points, are gotten through Elder Gems. You get Elder Gems from daily questing at level 50. Just FYI. But the amps are similar to skill trees in other MMOs. They are temporary stat increases or temporary buffs you get as a result of using certain abilities in your skill set. So anyway, I took all the tier 1s in the assault tree for the same reason I stated in my last video, that it's you know, static stat increases to crit hit severity, to assault power, and to critical hit chance. All the things we love as damage warriors. The next one, I kept detonate. I dropped a few other amps after thinking through my last build. I did not find these other amps to be as useful. Again, this is my opinion, but detonate, when you use overdrive, your innate, it deals 300% damage on top of the fact that you reset cooldowns. Okay, that may be on cooldown. Your abilities that may be on cooldown at that point. Okay, and it gives you more damage. So yeah, and it hits 5 foes within 8 meters. So why not take it? It's like a big freaking boom, you know, when you hit this ability. So anyway, the next one is Kinetic Fury. While above 500 kinetic energy, gain Empower. Empower increases damage dealt by 7.2%. While above 750 kinetic energy, you gain Empower. Empower increases damage dealt by 9%. So again, took this amp because more damage when I reach a certain threshold of my kinetic energy is worthwhile, in my opinion. The next one I took that I didn't take in my last build was called Armor Shred. Landing a direct hit grants a 50% chance to apply an expose for 15 seconds. Can only occur every 20 seconds. So there's about a 5-second downtime when you do land this ability. And it reduces all resistance by 8.6%. Again, that stacked on top of it, Smackdown, that's almost 19% reduced resistances. And you know, this is a debuff build, so that's why I took it. So that, you know, you reduce their resistances, your other party members do more damage to those foes, as well as you. So bring something to the table other than just your damage. Okay. Strike through I took again because If I can get a free 3% of the 12% I need to go into raiding situations, I'm going to take it. I have to focus less. It just means I have to focus less on strike through. The next amp that I got is energy rings. It increases your maximum kinetic energy by 10%. It's okay. It's not a super awesome amp, but I got this amp and this amp, the next one, kinetic burst. Your attacks build kinetic energy. Your attacks that build kinetic energy will build an additional 200 kinetic energy. Can only occur every 8 seconds. So by using your builder, relentless strikes, of your kinetic energy, when you use it the first time, it's 180 kinetic energy. But with this amp, it can be 380. Okay, and you can reach that threshold a little faster to increase your overall damage. Okay, by this amp. So it has a good synergy. The last amp in the hybrid assault power, tier 3, I took applies and explodes. It's called overwhelming presence. It applies and expose to foes within 8 meters. The expose is it reduces the deflect chance by 6%. Again, since this is a debuff build, and since strike through and deflect chance are polar opposites of one another, it brings, another aura to foes within 8 meters that reduces the chance that they will deflect your attacks. So again, it's not a bad idea. A lot of people will argue you can put these points elsewhere, but since this is a debuff build, this is what we're focusing on, putting the most debuffs on the foes and providing the most buffs to my fellows, to give them the edge. Okay. I did switch these around a little bit because I got to thinking, well, cooldowns are not as huge a deal. However, if you find that they are, like you want to have breaching strikes off cooldown faster, or power link off cooldown faster, or even, anything that has a cooldown on your bar, then, by all means, take these out and max out cooldowns. Okay, I just did that. That was just something I did. These are optional amp points, in my opinion. But you need to fill them out enough to get this one, bust out. Performing a CC break restores 28% health every 1 second for 4 seconds. Can only occur every 30 seconds. So again, I took this because we do have a CC break on our limited action setup here. But obviously there are a lot of fights that don't have it. But I had to take it to get power link, to again provide more awesomeness to my group, and they will love you long time by using this ability, power link. So anyway, this concludes my build 2 of the DPS Warrior. I don't know if we'll get to the tanking side too much, but I'm certainly going to try tonight to get them all out there. Work kicked my ass, I'll be honest, so I'm pretty daggone tired, and I need to eat. So, but anyway, if you liked this video, like what you saw, hit that like button on YouTube. If you want to follow me to get more content like this, or when it's available, you'll get notifications. By all means, follow me on Twitch. My Twitch name is Big Dog LB, but of course you know that if you're watching this video. But anyway, thank you guys. This is Luke from Guild Umbra signing off.